since you were also talking about how the social structure of the society was being highly influenced by socialism, and I think a very good example of it was Indira Gandhi. I mean, not just the emergency, but from early on, right?
Yes, I think Indira Gandhi was more Nehru than Nehru himself. And so, and Nehru did not bring many of these draconian laws like FERA.
Yeah, yeah.
The FERA of 1973, which was mirrored on the FERA of 1947 or something, actually was far more draconian. 1947 was less draconian, and 73 was far more draconian. She brought the MRTP. She nationalized the bank. She abolished the privy purses. At every twist and turn, her idea was the rich man was more or less a scoundrel.
Right.
And he was to be punished in one way or the other through a state policy. And the best way of bringing in equity in this country was to abolish all rich people, make them poor. And the taxes during a regime reached some obnoxious levels of around 102% when you crossed 2 lakh rupees per year income. And that's how people used to, never grew. And after 60s, you will find Korea, Japan, you will find Singapore, you will find even Southeast Asian countries like Philippines, Indonesia, all begin to gallop based on their enterprise. So by the time when Samsung and LG were taking roots in Korea, we were still following what the North Korean model was being followed. Luckily, in 91, we had a crisis.
Correct.
We must thank a crisis. And 1991 was what I called as the animal farm movement for India. You know, there is a novel called Animal Farm.
Yeah, George Orwell, right?
Yeah, where the animals get the independence from the humans. Yeah. And they have a leader called Napoleon, which is a pig. Okay, a pig called Napoleon to be their leader. And only to find that it was far worse than what they were being treated by the human beings. Likewise, we got the independence from the British, and instead of adopting something suited for ourselves, we adopted the British model, and socialism was our Napoleon, the pig, and it began to dominate us. Right. That's why by 91, when socialism was jettisoned, not a dog barked. Yeah. And incidentally, you must also know, youngsters, especially those who are watching this program, that till 1990, the official Babudam, intelligentsia, intellectuals were always for socialism in this country. Now, the classical example is the general secretary of a think tank called South-South Commission. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. In 1990, several intellectuals of the third world countries, okay, came together, and they said those times there was Russia, which was called second world, America was the first world, and the third world was the remnant countries. So the third world countries, poor countries, developing countries, where people used to come together to share their own problems and their own solutions. It was a private think tank. And the chairman of that particular think tank was one Julius Nyerere, who was the Tanzanian president at those times. Okay. Now, the Secretary General wrote a report, and he opposed globalization. He opposed currency movements. He opposed cross-border mergers. He says capital movement, if it is allowed, liberalization, if it is allowed, it will move savings from developing countries to the developed countries. He writes a treatise on what would be the classical position of, say, one who does not want to liberalize the economy.
Right.
Now, do you know who is the Secretary General of this great report?
Nehru.
No, Nehru was not alive in 1990.
Oh, sorry. Not sure. Who was this?
Manmohan Singh.
Oh, okay.
You should Google and see that report and read the acknowledgements of Nyerere to this particular report. You'll be shocked. And the same man in 1991 takes a U-turn faster than the Chennai Autowala and says that I am bringing in liberalization, privatization, globalization. Now, liberalization, privatization, globalization must have been brought in by somebody like Narasimha Rao, who liberalized the economy but yet protected the economy. So this slogan was there: liberalization, privatization, globalization, which is rhyming beautifully.
Yeah.
But what somebody like Narasimha Rao did in 91 was excellent. And I passed out my CA in 91. And when I started my practice as a chartered accountant in 92, the entire syllabus that I had studied for my final exam had become redundant. He took away the liberalized FERA. He virtually brought down the MRTP. He abolished the capital controllers issue. He also he diluted the MRTP. Industrial licensing was abolished. So many things that he brought in between 91 and 92. By the time I came out, I was like an unformatted hard disk.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.